Session is now recording, and let me go to my questions. And we'll get going. So, hey world, Frank Simpson, Managing Director of the Simpson Firm, Senior Private Wealth Advisor. And today, I'm super excited, got a special guest to come on and chat about an interesting topic that a lot of people have questions around. You know, we hear a lot about blockchain, you hear a lot about cryptocurrencies, you hear a lot about artificial technology or artificial intelligence and smart portfolios. And today I have a special guest to come talk to us about just that. So one of the leading researchers in the field of blockchain and artificial intelligence, Albert Fattal. Thanks for joining us today.
Frank, very happy to be here. Excited. Can't wait to get going. I have an interesting story that I like to start out with. A couple of months ago, I had a publication that was going through peer review, and that's one of the most difficult, stressful moments. And I think I must have gotten some of the most, number one, difficult questions that somebody can possibly answer, particularly pertaining towards the financial industry, which dealt a lot with the study and publication that I was working on. But as you mentioned, I'm an AI and blockchain scientist. I think I am excited to go through it. I'm very happy for anybody to check my work out, my publications at albertfattal.com. I am honored to be here with you, Frank. I know that you're out on the other coast in Maryland, so a huge technology hub. So very excited to have my presence here, and perhaps I can give some knowledge towards some of your viewers.
Look, we're happy to be able to connect. I love throwing it deep to the West Coast for some expertise and trying to cover everyone in the middle. So I'm sure, you know, there's a lot of great value we'll get from this conversation, and certainly by the end of the call, you know, the audience will be well informed of artificial intelligence and blockchain. Speaking of which, you know, expand. There's a lot of misnomers of blockchain, right? There's often confusion around how that ties into cryptocurrency. Let's just start with, what is blockchain? What is artificial intelligence?
That's an important question to get through. Often people, I notice when interacting with them, is that there is a gross misrepresentation of a mixture between both blockchain and cryptocurrency. One might think that they're synonymous to each other. That is absolutely not the case. They're in fact very different from each other. One is the basic fundamental blockchain, which is the basic fundamental, the pillar that I would say a plugin, for example, such as a cryptocurrency, is built on top of it using the foundational technology of blockchain. Whereas blockchain is a secure peer-to-peer network, cryptocurrencies is very much a financial denomination similar to the USD or the euro on a very digitized platform.
Cool. So I mean, let's just set the record straight. Blockchain and cryptocurrency are not the same thing.
It would be incorrect to say that blockchain and cryptocurrency are synonymous or the same. So yeah, you're right with that statement. Again, blockchain is a foundational technology that something like cryptocurrency is built off of.
So tell us a little bit about the technology of blockchain. What's happening behind the scenes? How does it work?
That's an exciting technology.
Why do we love it so much?
Yeah, I may be biased in saying this. I think it is one of the coolest technologies that somebody could use to secure contracts between one party to another, right? So it's a contractual technology that has a genesis block. It begins with the beginning block, right? Blockchain. And each assertive block that is connected to that initial genesis block is bound by a chain. And the chain is essentially a hypothetical hexadecimal hash, which means it's a series of very large and complex numbers and letters and they are nearly impossible to hack. Although I have a caveat that I'll talk a little bit later, based on quantum computing. And one of the most difficult tasks to have to overtake the network is that one would need to have over 50% of the computing power within the system. And I just want to put that into perspective. If there's 7,000 people using, for example, Bitcoin, that's a pretty common cryptocurrency, right? And there's certainly a lot more than that, but let's just simplify. Let's say 10,000 people. An individual that is attempting to hack that or to breach that cryptocurrency to have financial gains would likely have to take over 50% of the computing power that over 10,000 people are taking. And again, that's very simplified numbers that could be a lot easier to work with. So that inherently makes it an extremely secure network.
Good question. And you raise a good point about the security of it. Is it the most secure technology that we have right now?
It's by far one of the most secure technologies, arguably the most secure technology that we do have. You're going to notice a lot of technology firms, a lot of financial firms are beginning a mass transition into the foundational blockchain technology. Absolutely.
So what are some ways outside of, again, just the cryptocurrencies, because we talked a little bit about that, and of course people intertwine both. What are some other ways that we are currently using blockchain in society, and what are some things that people aren't thinking of just yet that could be good use for blockchain technology?
Yeah, but before I do that, I do want to quickly mention a little bit of history that I wish I mentioned a little bit earlier on. Do you remember peer-to-peer networks such as torrenting, LimeWire? That was towards the 90s. I know that perhaps many of your viewers are a little younger, but that was an initial beginning of what the blockchain was. It did start as a peer-to-peer
Hey, Albert, I was in
network.
college in the late 90s, the early 2000s. I know a lot about P2P, trust me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so many people may not associate the two as being related. In fact, something like uTorrent, LimeWire was another software. These
Napster was a
were
big one, right?
Napster. That was likely the most famous of them all. Yeah, they got hit by the lawsuit, but yeah, absolutely. So the history behind it spans all the way to the 90s. Theoretically, in a philosophical concept, it can go back further, but when it became scientifically and technologically applied to the industry, many people would agree that the early 90s, with the advent of P2P networks such as Napster, LimeWire, uTorrent, was the beginning of what blockchain is today. It's, of course, evolved throughout time. But your question, how can it be applied outside of financial industry? In fact, it can be applied in just about every single industry that is looking for some kind of security certification between multiple parties, minimum of 2 parties, right? So my latest publication, which was AI and blockchain in information systems, dealing with the supply chain management on a business perspective, that's an excellent place to implement blockchain. So
how does AI and blockchain go together? Why should we be thinking about those, and why should we think about using those technologies with each other versus just in their own silo?
Yeah. So I do want to clarify, and I'm sure many of your viewers are highly competent and understand the technology, but I absolutely need to clarify that there's a lot of buzzwords that are being thrown around in 2000, right? In the 2019, going into 2020, into the future, which is artificial intelligence and blockchain. And for those who are not familiar, they may, again, think that the two are somewhat associated and related. They really are not related. These are 2 different technologies. And whereas one is an intelligence capability, an agent with intelligence, and although I would not say that AI today is as intelligent as many people think it actually is. It does need to be programmed, and although there are advanced deep learning algorithms that are capable of teaching themselves, we have a long ways to go. But we're trekking wonderfully right now with AI. Blockchain, on the other hand, is simply a security idea, a security concept, the methodology to secure contractual parties together, right? So artificial intelligence does need to be distinguished as its own entity versus blockchain. And once again, I do want to talk a little bit about some various forms that blockchain can be used within the industry. If we're dreaming into the future, the blockchain is an excellent platform to base the future of Internet of Things. That is likely the next industrial revolution, which is Industry 4.0, which is a future publication I'm hoping to get out by the end of 2019. If anybody knows anything about publications, they're very brutal, and I'll have to go through a lot of questioning before I get there. But the goal is to get that paper published. And it deals with the future technology, the future industry. Which, we started out with the agricultural revolution, then we had the industrial revolution. Our most recent revolution would be the computing revolution. And now as we go forward into the future, blockchain having a huge influence on where we're going into the future, including blockchain. Now we are at Industry 4.0, largely based on Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, blockchain, and the mixture of all of them together. And a lot of these are what's called bleeding edge technologies that are so far into the future for most people that they really aren't used to their maximum potential. And we still have a lot of research to go so that they are easily, cost effectively implemented. And I know you're, real quick, I know you're in the financial industry. And many of your viewers are financially literate. I do want to say one of the drawbacks of blockchain is that it requires significant resources, both financially, computationally, as well as scientists and engineers.
So I'm glad you touched on that, because we hear a lot about smart portfolios, robo-advisors, and I think they're all great and certainly have a place. And look, I'm a firm believer in artificial intelligence. I think it helps with.
That's great. Happy to hear that.
But, as you pointed out, one of the limitations, and things are getting better as systems become more robust and you can program things to, what if scenarios to happen. You can program, more what if scenarios into how the computer triggers certain events. But the limitation, and you said it without really saying, is that it's artificial intelligence is limited to what the machine can learn and what you can program the machine to learn. Can you touch on that as it relates to finance and the amount of information that has to be consumed at one time to be able to make these decisions, and that ultimately, in my opinion, a robo-advisor creates significant advantages over a traditional advisor, but a traditional advisor, and that's only from a speed standpoint, right? Because they can compute stuff much faster. But from a selection of investment portfolios and getting to know an individual, the individual still wins over the computer technology. And financial planning.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, Frank, right now, artificial intelligence does not have the human essence. When an individual that is seeking to invest their portfolio, particularly larger valued portfolios, they may typically be more comfortable talking with the human versus an AI agent, which does not have feelings, does not have the ability to comfort the individual bringing in a large portfolio. On a competency level, I think artificial intelligence is an excellent supplement to mix in to that live agent. So the mixture of the two of them is the gold standard, at least in this day and age. AI is very competent in understanding algorithms, seeing massive amounts of data that no human is even capable of comprehending, but it simply does not have the human essence and the human touch, which is so important to converse, especially if somebody is in a consultancy level that is attempting to broaden somebody's portfolio. That's very important. The human touch is still important.
So look, Albert, I totally agree with you on that, and I want to be mindful of your time. We wanted to kind of whet wet the whistles of the audience, have them talk about blockchain and artificial intelligence in an open forum. So one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to make ourselves available for maybe the next 10, 15 minutes to respond to comments in the comments section of this post, and really engage the audience on questions that they may have in regards to blockchain, for myself, cryptocurrencies, investments, and how this technology relates to that world. But certainly you're available as an expert in how artificial intelligence and blockchain can be adapted to any workplace. So we'll make ourselves available for comments in the post. And if you're watching this live, certainly feel free to chime in as quickly as possible. And if you're watching this on replay, please hashtag replay. And we certainly appreciate your attention. Hey, look, Al, won't you tell the audience where can they find your research, more information on blockchain, more information on all the artificial intelligence, and how can they follow you as the thought leader in this space?
Yeah, I would love to. If you simply go to Google and search AI and blockchain scientists, it's likely that I'm going to be the top result that comes out. That's a very simple way to get in contact with me. If you want to get a little deeper into that, you can go to my website where I publish all of my work, both experimental and those that have passed peer review. At albertfattal.com. That's ALBERTFATTAL.com. And you can see a lot more contact information there, including an exciting live chat.
So look, I'll leave it with this one thing, this closing thought, is that you mentioned it before, like we're still in the infancies of these technologies, even though we see the utilization of it in some really impressive areas. There's a lot of things that we haven't thought of as people and how to use these. And there could be some ideas out there that the audience may have that you can turn into a legitimate business idea and make a ton of money using this technology. So I'll let you leave the audience with a final thought or anything that you may not have talked about already. And, maybe some tidbits or some other ways to think about these technologies as we close up this session.
Sure, Frank. I'm going to close this off by saying, first and foremost, thank you very much. I know there's quite a number of hour differences out on the other coast, so exciting to have an interview with you, Frank. I hope that a lot of your financially interested viewers are able to send some questions. I'm always happy to answer that. And it's an interesting story, right? So we're living in a time when technology and science is progressing at an exponential rate, at a rate that most people are incapable of comprehending. And that's the truth. That's where we're at right now. And we're at the very beginning. We've had about 100 years of really progressive scientific and technological advancements. And this is just the very beginning tip of it. In the next 10 years or so, we're going to see change both in industry, the financial industry, and every other industry based on our industrial revolution, Industry 4.0 going forward. There's going to be a lot of exciting things that we can't yet even imagine. It's going to be an exciting moment.
Well, look, there you have it, Facebook. You heard it from the best, the leader in blockchain and artificial intelligence. I want to thank my good friend Albert for joining us and enlighten us today. If you have any other questions, feel free to, again, drop them in the comments section of this post, and certainly reach out to Albert as well directly if you want to take the conversation offline. So Albert, look, much appreciation, man. Look forward to catching up with you soon, and thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Frank. I'm delighted.
All right, man. So look, I'll cut that.